21-year-old Corey Heim is a rising NASCAR star, a top Toyota prospect. I got to sit down with him earlier this weekend. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to a special episode of Out of the Groove. I'm coming to you from the driver's meeting room here at Kansas Speedway. Earlier today, I got to talk to rising NASCAR star Corey Heim. I just wanted to share some of his comments with you all, contextualize them a bit. I think Corey Heim is legit. Tonight, he won his 7th career Truck Series race. If you go back to the start of 2023, in his last 30 Truck Series starts, he has 27 top 10 finishes. That's ridiculous. One of the first things I asked Corey when I spoke to him earlier today was, how is he able to maintain such consistency racing in what many call a very chaotic series?
Yeah, I feel like we've definitely been consistent these past couple of years. I feel like we've been capable of definitely winning a little bit more than we have, but we've had speed, every single week. As soon as we hit the summer stretch last year and kind of got through that portion of the season, I feel like we really hit our stride and we were capable of winning just about every week. So each weekend we unload with really fast trucks, and I feel like we've been capable, and it's just really about, for me, closing out stage 3 at this point. There's a handful last year that I feel like I kind of gave away, so huge props to Track on Garage and everyone over there for bringing fast touches every weekend, and hopefully we can repeat that this year.
Heim, of course, has established himself as a Truck Series championship contender, but now he's gotten a taste of the NASCAR Cup Series, filling in for Eric Jones last weekend at Dover and again this weekend at Kansas. You heard him in that last segment say that, one thing he's worked on in trucks is trying to finish races, be better in stage 3. Heim has made some Xfinity Series starts as well, but I asked him if the race lengths, Cup Series races being 400 miles as opposed to the 200-mile truck races, was that something that he had to adjust to racing at Dover last weekend? And this was his response.
Yeah, it's very mentally challenging for sure. That was the main thing. I got out of the car and I was pretty toasted mentally after the race. I'm pretty used to really short sprint stages. We don't even make a green flag stop most of the time in stage 1 and 2 in the Truck Series. And Cup, you're flirting with 2 green flag stops pretty much. So definitely different. I feel like physically, I didn't really feel like I was wrestling the car the whole race. I wasn't super hard to drive. I feel like we had good balance throughout the race, so that helped a little bit. But mentally, it's very challenging. You're green flag pitting 5 to 6 times, at least at Dover, and pit stops are tough. And I got spun the first ever pit stop I ever did, so having to recollect myself and regroup and go again was tough. But I think it's just, once again, just seat time is everything. As soon as you adjust to that and move forward with the experience, I think it definitely makes it easier.
Heim also gave a fairly detailed answer, I believe, when I asked him about the differences between the Cup Series Next Gen car and the Craftsman Trucks.
Yeah, definitely more similar to a truck. The off-throttle time is very similar. Going over SMT this week between the truck and Cup cars, it's definitely pretty similar. A little bit more off-throttle with the Cup car, but Xfinity, you're basically braking into the corner from lap 1, so that's definitely not close. But and then the Cup car, of course, has the very small sidewall tires and kind of loses side force as you yaw, so that basically means that you can't get it sideways at all. Whereas the truck, you can really pitch it out and feel the right rear, and a lot of drivers say drive it off the right rear, whereas the Cup car, you kind of have to drive it off the right front. So in short terms, you have to keep the car as straight as possible at all times without getting too loose. So
you have to keep the Cup car straight at all times. Man, that's a super simple way of describing it. But it's incredibly accurate, and for the average person like me who's never driven a race car, it makes the most sense. Think about back in the day, you see these cars sliding, rear tires sliding, exiting the corner. You don't see that anymore at the next gen. Typically, you'll see maybe a little wiggle. You'll just see the car push tight, plow in the corner. You don't see them slide, driving off the right rear. His way of explaining it, I don't know. I appreciate it. It dumbed it down for someone like me, again, who has never driven a real race car. And his comments about the truck, again, being very similar to the next gen car, makes sense when you consider drivers like Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith have made that jump directly from full-time trucks to full-time Cup. The entire industry is seeing this. On a completely different topic, though, there was an article this week in the Kansas City Star talking about NASCAR trying to develop its next superstars. Not just racing stars, but superstars that actually transcend the sport, the way Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt Sr. did. There were a lot of interesting quotes featured in this article from veteran drivers like Kyle Busch, But I wanted to ask a much younger driver, an up-and-coming driver, a 21-year-old, his thoughts. In your opinion, what will it take for you or another young driver to become a transcendent superstar?
Yeah, that's a good topic, and I feel like that's something that's been talked about a lot in the past couple of years. I mean, you definitely look at the shows they've been coming out with the past couple of years and what has defined more of a popular driver, and I think Denny has done a great job at just really being outspoken to the point where it doesn't really seem like he cares what people think.
Yeah.
When you look at NFL and NBA, boxing, UFC, like a lot of those guys just do not care. Like they'll say some outrageous stuff and they don't get a lot of repercussion for it, in the sense that like they'll be very cocky and opinionated, and they take digs at people and they trash talk a lot. And that's just part of the culture. And I feel like with NASCAR, it just hasn't been established that that's part of the culture yet. Like if you trash talk someone on Twitter and you
see everybody every week, the same people every week. I always figured that would make it hard.
It is hard, but I feel like it comes to a point where it's just a competitive nature, and NFL teams play over half the schedule every year. I think play about half the schedule every year. So at some point you're gonna have to revisit that. And there's big rivalries, and I feel like NASCAR used to be kind of built on that a little bit. Just watching the rivalries in and out, and it's not to say that there's not any anymore, but it definitely has kind of faded a little bit to more of a professionalism and just more to show up and do your job kind of thing. But that's not to say that it can't develop back into something like that. It's just a part of the culture that we built in NASCAR, and it's just kind of this day and age of it.
I asked Corey Heim, again, only 21 years old, if he's big on social media, and he admitted he doesn't post much because, in his opinion, it can only do more damage than good. That's crazy to me. I wish these drivers weren't put in such a tight box. It's the world we live in. When multi-million-dollar corporate sponsors are tied to it, you can never be too careful. I get it. But man, it's sad to hear young drivers, and I've even heard more veteran drivers say these kinds of things before. It is just disappointing. I think it is stifling the series' growth. To kind of wrap things up here, and I appreciate you staying tuned this long, I asked Corey Heim, again, one of NASCAR's top young stars, where he sees himself 5 years down the line.
Yeah, I hope to be firmly in the Cup Series. I think last year was a big, not necessarily a wake-up call for me, but just kind of gave me an idea of what I need to work on as a driver. When you come to the truck stuff, I have so much experience running this truck and the feel of it and the pit stops and everything just elevated in the Cup Series. So it really gave me a general idea of where I need to be, and I feel like I can definitely work on these things, and it's something that I can get better on. So I feel like the speed was there for me last week. It's just having to work on the very fine tuning side of it, as far as like restarts, pit stops, and the things that get you track position. It's so hard to pass right now in the Cup Series. Everything's so important. So I'm confident that in 5 years I'll be where I need to be, competing for wins, hopefully in the Cup Series, and I'm really confident in Toyota Racing behind me and what they've been able to do in my career build up in the last 3 years. I was thinking about it last week. I didn't even start a truck race 3 years ago to this point, so now I'm somewhat in the Cup Series. So it's just crazy to think about, and I hope I can keep improving myself to get that good in 5 years and be able to compete for wins. But I guess it's a big question mark.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I appreciate Corey for giving me the time, giving me the opportunity to do a little feature like this. Not something I'm particularly used to, sort of a different way of presenting a typical driver interview, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some apologies as well for the slightly muffled audio at times with Corey. I think ARCA, no, it wasn't Cup, ARCA, it was the ARCA race. The ARCA race, if I remember correctly, was going on during that time. So yeah, a lot of white noise in the background, as you can imagine, but hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you again soon.